Hello, welcome back again to this video. In this video we're going to look at another challenge that's going to build directly from the previous challenge we looked at, the steps problem. So this video, this new challenge is going to build on top of what we did in this steps challenge. Okay, those who missed the steps challenge, we can go back and watch that video. Okay, so in this video we are going to look at this is the solution. We're going to print out a shape of a pyramid. Let me hope you've ever seen a pyramid. We all know that pyramids are found in Egypt. Yeah. So if you want to look at a pyramid, maybe you can make a trip to Egypt, and there are very many wonderful pyramids that side. Okay. So in this video we're going to be replicating those pyramids you see in Egypt. Okay. So we're going to write a function that accepts a positive number n. The function should log the pyramid shape, okay, with n levels using the hash character as usual. We have to make sure that the steps have spaces on both sides. You can call them the steps or levels, or we can call them steps have spaces on both sides. So let's look at two examples here so we can get a big picture of what we're going to be doing. So this first example here is a pyramid whereby we're passing in a 1. So there you should just print the hash symbol alone. That's enough because it's one level. But when you go to a pyramid, when you are passing in a 2, so you should be expecting 2 levels. Okay, so you're having 2 levels, or as in we're having 2 rows. But now the columns are a little bit different. So in the first part, we're going to be following the very first idea of looping through the rows. Because there are only 2 rows. There are only 2 rows for this example, and I'm passing in a 2 in a pyramid. So for the rows, we are going to be doing the very thing we did in the previous challenge. Okay. So inside the rows, you're going to be looping through. So we're going to use a for loop for let row equal to 0. Okay. Row less than n, and you increment row plus plus. Okay. And then we do the very same thing. Let level, can I call it stair? Let me just call it stair, as we did in the other previous challenge. So let's stair, it's an empty string. Okay. And we're going to be nesting the very idea we took in the other first challenge, the same idea we are taking. We're going to use a for loop, the nested for loop again here in this challenge. So we're going to be looping through the rows. So let column, let column. But now what's going to change here? We're not going to be looping from column. From column is equal to 0 to n. We're not going to do the same approach we did the other time round. So this one is going to change a little bit because let us first go back to this example here. So when you look at this pattern you're seeing here, this pattern is different from the pattern we saw in this challenge here. So this pattern is a little bit different. Why? Because when you look at this first challenge, when you look at that first example, when we were having 1, we're having only 1 level and 1 column. Okay. But then when you go to pyramid 2, we're having 2 levels, but then the columns are not, they're not 2. We're not having 2 columns this time around. We're having, instead of having 3. Okay. This pattern will go on until you reach, this pattern will be changing depending on the number you're passing here. I'm just taking these 2 examples because they are the simplest example I can use to explain for you this idea. But the very technique we use for these 2 examples, the very technique that applies on all the numbers. Okay, and even if it was a 3 or a 4 upwards, we won't be using the same technique. So when you look at the pattern here, to generate the columns, okay, generate the columns here, we'll we're going to use a function or an expression 2 times n minus 1. Okay, 2 times n minus 1 will give us the number of columns you're seeing here. So what is n? N is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is what? Is a 3. That's why we're having 3 columns. Okay. The same would apply here. 2 times 2. The same would apply here. 2 times 1 is a 2. 2 minus 1 is a 1. That should be having 1 column. The same will apply to all other numbers. Okay. So here we're going to be looping from column is equal to 0 up to column 2 times n minus 1. Right? Let me hope you understand that idea. Okay. So inside this for loop, alright, you're going to be doing some logic. And first of all the things we require inside this for loop is what we call a midpoint. What do I mean by the midpoint? The midpoint is the number, or I can call it the number in the middle here. For example, this is our midpoint for our case. So to get our midpoint, we can say const midpoint, const mid. You can even call it mid. Or let's call it midpoint. Okay. Midpoint will be equal to math. So I want to find the midpoint dot flow. So I'm going to be finding the midpoint of 2 times n minus 1 over 2. So we're going to be finding the midpoint. Okay, we're going to find the midpoint of these columns. So literally the midpoint is the number in between the columns. Okay, if I can explain it like that. So what does the math.flow does? The math.flow to get this number, the output here, and round it. In case we have a decimal point anywhere, to round off the nearest 100, up to the nearest, to round off, okay, the nearest whole number. So we want to be having a decimal point. For example, if we can look at this example here, we are having n is equal to 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. When it's 3 divided by 2, it's approximately 1.5 something. So the midpoint here will be 1. Okay, it will be 1, it won't be 1.5, right? Okay, so let me complete this. I didn't complete, so I'm implementing column plus. So since now we're having a midpoint, we're going to be making a check inside our for loop here. We're going to say midpoint minus row. I'm going to first write out this code, and then later on I'll explain what it does. Okay, call midpoint plus row greater or equal to row. That's the case. Just there plus is equal to the hash else star plus equal to space. Alright, let me explain. Let me hope you understand up to this point where we're generating a midpoint, and you know the reason as to why we're generating a midpoint. So the midpoint here, so let me first go back to this example here. So here having a 0 and a 1. I'm going back to the illustration I did in the other last example. They also apply here. So here, you're having a 0. Then here we have a 1. Great. And then a 2. Okay, so in this column having a 0, in this column having a 1, and this column having a 2, this row having a 0 and 1. Right, so what's the midpoint for this? In this example here, the midpoint would be 1. 1 is the midpoint here. Okay, this column here is our midpoint. Alright, so inside our if statement, they are saying that midpoint, you subtract the row from the midpoint and see if it's less or equal to the column. Okay, so let's go back to this example here. What's our midpoint? 1. 1 minus the row. The row is 0. 1 minus 0 is a what? Is a 1. Is 1 less or equal to the column? What's the column? The column is a 0. 1 is not less than 0. So, we will skip this statement here and execute the else part whereby we're going to be adding a space here. So that's why a space is being added here. Okay, we go to the next part. Okay, 1. Okay, what's midpoint is 1. Okay, 1 minus the row. What's the row? 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, is 1 less or equal to the column? What's the column? The column is 1. 1 is equal to 1. Okay, and then this part will be executed, so the hash will be printed. Ideally, even this part here, even this part here, whereby we're having, remember these two conditions have to be fulfilled. They have to be fulfilled for you to print a hash symbol. So for that very example, let us look at this part also. Midpoint is a 1. Okay, 1 plus row is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. Is 1 greater than the column, greater or equal to column? Column is 1. 1 is equal to column. So this part will be executed because it has fulfilled both conditions. These two conditions have been fulfilled. So the hash will be printed. So when we go here also at the end here, okay, midpoint is 1. 1 minus 0 is a what? Is a 1. Is 1 less or equal to the column? 1 is less or equal to the column indeed, because 1 is less than the column, which is a 2. Okay, because this condition also, what's the midpoint? 1. 1 plus row, this row, 1 plus 0 is 1. Is 1 greater or equal to the column? No, it's not. So this part won't be executed, and then the else part will be executed. That's why you're seeing a space here. So the same logic will also apply to this last level also. Okay, yeah, let me help you understand that part. So at the end here, we'll do the same thing. We'll console.log. Okay, we console.log inside our outer loop, our outer for loop. We console.log. What are we logging? We're logging there. Right. So I will just create. I will just call the pyramid function and test out our solution and see whether what we've been coding out is indeed right. Okay, so what are we putting? Let us put it 2. So let us execute this and see. Now terminal node. I named the file pyramid.js file. Whoa, I'm getting an error somewhere. Yes, core is not defined. Alright, I'm having some bugs inside our code. Core is not defined. Yeah, right. This shouldn't be row. This shouldn't be column. It should be column. Sorry for that. Column. So that's let me hope that solves the problem. Yes, let me execute it once again. See, we're having our pyramid shape being printed out on the console. Wonderful. So let us test out with a very huge levels. Let us try 10 so that we can see a gigantic pyramid, the one you used to seeing in Egypt. Okay, gigantic pyramid, giant. You see, so this is the shape of a pyramid. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so thank you for watching this video once again. We've learned a lot. In this video. We've seen the difference between this challenge and the previous one. Okay, so please keep practicing these things because these are very common interview questions. So once you're applying for a job of a React.js developer, these are some of the questions be asked in the interview. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe to my channel. Bye bye. We'll meet another video. Bye bye.